This is Modern Persian Food,
a culinary podcast for today's food enthusiast.
We talk about classic Persian flavors,
modern recipes,
and embracing culture and identity through food.
I'm Bita.
And I'm also Bita.
Welcome to our show.
Hello, friends. Welcome to our November episode where we're chatting about Persian-inspired pies for Thanksgiving or anytime this fall season. Join us in our quest to strengthen family bonds and foster a sense of community through blending cultures in creative ways. Bita and I are going to start off by sharing our pie recipes in a new surprise format. And in the second half of the episode, we're going to answer and ask the beats that we received live from our event last month for Mehragan. All right, without further ado, Bita Jun, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm hoping for the best. I'm afraid my sound system might be on its last legs, but fingers crossed, you can hear me loud and clear, and I'm ready to talk about one of my favorite topics, dessert.
I do love Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite holidays. I love how there's no pressure of having to get gifts, and it's really an opportunity to be thankful and appreciate each other and family, friends. So yes, one of my favorite holidays.
It's big in our family. We probably signify it as the most important family tradition that we do. My late father used to talk about gratitude, and we used to go around the table and say what we're each grateful for. But ultimately, like my Baba June used to say, we really should take every day to give thanks. And we started last month with Mehragan, and we continue to give thanks. And right now, I'm thankful for this fun new version that we're going to share. We've been recipe testing. We've been keeping it from each other.
Yes.
And it's been hard. I've been wanting to share, and we're finally going to share.
So we thought that we'd focus this month's episode on pies as opposed to just Thanksgiving, because we have some really great Thanksgiving content over the years. We've loved talking about it. We have Persian Thanksgiving, Persian American Thanksgiving, Persian Thanksgiving leftovers, and then specific recipes that we have within each of those episodes. So there's definitely a lot of content out there that we have. So take a listen, get inspired, try one of our recipes, or just be inspired to have a cross-cultural table. That's how it's always kind of has been for me and my family growing up. We always had a turkey and a lot of the traditional sides, but we've also layered in Persian foods, Persian rice dishes, some green bean dishes with Persian flair. So it's fun for me to have a cross-cultural table, not only for Thanksgiving, but really all throughout the year. I love to blend our cultures, and it helps create a sense of identity.
That's right. In the 4 years we've been doing this now, we have every rendition of how to do a Persian American Thanksgiving and all the ways. And we'll link all those episodes for you hardcore modern Persian food enthusiasts to link back to. But we're doing something different today. We're going to focus in on what we're going to call pies.
Okay, so we each have about 3-ish pie concepts / recipes that we want to share with each other. We do not know what the other person is going to share. So this is kind of fun. We've had kind of episodes like this where we have it a more interactive format. So we're doing that this month, and we're excited about that. So let's just maybe take turns talking about our recipes and concepts, and we could take it from there.
Okay.
All right. Why don't I ask you first then? Bita Jun, tell me your pie number one.
Okay. So I had a ton of fun recipe testing because it's been a minute, I feel, since I put my recipe development hat on, and I really enjoyed doing it, although it was at the most crazy time I could possibly be doing it. A lot going on in the personal life, but I was able to share with family, which was just Bob that was home, and neighbors. So neighbors got to get in on it. And I started out with something that I recipe tested, Persian chocolate chess pie, sort of.
Oh. It's
got 3 main ingredients. It could also be called chocolate cherry hand pie. So let me tell you something, Bita June.
Fun. Yes, tell me.
This one is so easy to make. Like, this is one that if you do any kind of Persian cooking at home, you probably have the specialty ingredients already. And then aside from I'm using some frozen flaky biscuit rolls, it is like as easy as pie. I use chocolate chips. I use a pre-made roll of those frozen biscuits. And then I use something called chia smash jam, which you may or may not have seen in the store. They have it at Sprouts. They have it at Whole Foods. It's like a chia jam. And the chia smash jam I use, it's actually cherry pomegranate.
Oh, so what is a chia smash? Is that like chia pudding kind of with fruit in it?
It's jam. It's jam with chia in it. So it's I've had it in a few different flavors, but the one I used for this recipe is cherry pomegranate. It's just imagine a jam that's like a little thicker and a bit more gelatinous with chia in it. Maybe nutritious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. Oh, so then maybe it doesn't need like pectin or something added to it, perhaps?
Probably, yeah. Like a lot of fruits have natural pectins, but yeah, I don't know. It was something I started to use in my breakfast, and I had this easy idea, and all you need to do, I used bittersweet chocolate chips, is melt those, and I literally melted them in the microwave on like 10 or 15 second rounds. You can melt them in their microwave, stirring in between. It only takes 2 or 3 rounds. Then stir in the pomegranate cherry chia jam, and you've got this like sour chocolatey filling that's ready to go.
Oh, sounds so good.
I found this brand of flaky biscuits that I couldn't tell the difference between homemade. If you're super ambitious, you want to make your own biscuit, do it. But it was the Immaculate Organic brand, and they were fabulous. They were like thick and flaky.
So you baked it regular, like right out of the packaging. You didn't maneuver the dough in any way. You just used that biscuit, right, to make it the way it was intended?
I did. I only baked it halfway through. So you know what I'm talking about? Like, the old Pillsbury croissant rolls and things that are in the roll. Yep. Well, these are biscuits.
What was it, frozen?
It's not frozen.
Okay, so it's not frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, so you pop it open, you take the biscuits out, I cook it halfway through, and then I divided them in half.
Okay, split them open,
I split them, yeah, so sandwich style. Then I put my chocolate cherry pomegranate smash in between. Mm-hmm. And one more thing I forgot to mention that I mixed into my chocolate spread is pistachios. Shelled pistachios. Oh. So there's a crunch in there. There's nuts. There's chocolate. There's sour. There's jam. And so easy. So I put them in there. I cooked them the rest of the way. Now, listen to this. I took some butter. I used vegan butter, whatever butter you like. And I added bloomed saffron. And I brushed the top of the biscuit. And I gave it like this golden saffron glaze. And they came out looking interesting. I shared with my neighbors. They were so cute. They're like, it's a slider, but it's a dessert. they kind of look like hamburgers.
Oh.
I found out they were delicious. They were really delicious. My taste tester, Bob, loves everything, but he really liked these. I found out that if after your little slider looking desserts, hand pies are done, if you slice them, they look a little bit more presentable. They look like little, what are those pastry things called? Layered dessert. You can drizzle it with some creme fraiche or cream. You can add some pistachios and chocolate flakes on top, and it could look really quite lovely. So that was a really, really easy, delicious, chocolatey dessert idea.
I love it. That sounds delicious. Man, with that chocolate and also the tartness from the pomegranate cherry, that sounds super delicious and easy. I have a ham pie recipe too. It's a little bit more simple than yours.
I thought mine was pretty simple. I want to hear simpler.
It's definitely very simple. So the theme of my pies are, I'm not a big baker, but I enjoy like sweets and things like that. And I love to take shortcuts whenever I can. So all 3 of my pie recipes that I'm going to chat about today use pre-made dough. So again, to your point, if someone's ambitious or they have a dough recipe that they love or they're really good at baking and they want to make their own dough, more power to them. But I'm using store-bought dough. So I you can use like a puff pastry or that same crescent roll that you're talking about. or like a pie dough. But what I'm doing is making kind of like more of a flat version ham pie, kind of like a Persian Pop-Tart.
Okay.
And super simple. So I got the dough rolled out and I make kind of rectangular shapes with it. And I only used one simple ingredient, and that was quince jam. And so put the quince jam in there with like the little slices of quince, a little bit of salt, and then I put another layer of the dough on top of it, press down the edges of it with like a fork. And then to make it extra shiny on top, I just used a little bit of the syrup from the jam itself to just like brush a little bit right on the top of it. Again, a little bit more salt on the top. And guess where I cooked it? I cooked it in the air fryer.
Really?
Just a few minutes, and it came out golden brown and smelling super delicious. And that was a super fun and easy way. And I just thought, I'm like, this would be great if I'm going to like a Friendsgiving or going to someone's house and I just need to take something really quick. And, you know, there's nothing like a little homemade something to take when you're going somewhere. You could bang that out literally in like less than 20 minutes. You can have it ready to go. So that's my version of a very simple hand pie.
Well, you know what I love about both of our ideas is that you can interchange and make it your own. So I could take your idea of calling it a Persian Pop-Tart, and instead of using the biscuits, which ended up being, to be honest, kind of too bready, that's why I decided to cut them into more thinly sliced versus having an entire like round pie of it. You can use it in your hands. You don't even need to use utensil or a dish. You can put them out on a serving plate, and then it's like a finger food. And so they do work great for like a Friendsgiving or a picnic or a gathering that's really casual. And then also you put my filling in your Pop-Tarts. You can put your filling in my biscuits. It's just,
exactly.
These are all just great ideas. And by the way, hey, you publishers, we got a cookbook, and I'm adding some of these ideas to our list. I think we definitely have one.
Yeah, we have some fun ideas. Yeah, I love it. And the quince jam can also be substituted for like a different kind of jam. Your chia smash jam would be perfect inside of there. Or if you have like a Seville orange jam or something else that you want to feature or that you just have in your fridge, and when you're trying to pull this together, use it. It will be delicious. I do have to say, though, the little bit of salt really makes a big difference, though. So don't forget the salt.
When I bake with salted butter on purpose because I do love the salty sweet.
Yes.
Hey, on the topic of quince, I have a rendition of my classic apple pie. I almost always have apple pies at our Thanksgiving. I make my own crust, typically, and selfishly, like I just like it. I like it to be a certain way. But store-bought totally works, and you can fake people out. You can fake people out with a store-bought. You can take your pizza cutter. You can still weave it like I do. You can still cut out your little leaves and make it look super fancy. So use all those tricks. And what I want to try, and this is an imagination, I haven't done this yet, but I want to make my apple pie with some quince mixed in there and see what it does to the flavor.
Yeah.
And also, you know, maybe add some walnuts, and the walnuts are optional, but definitely I think quince could add an interesting flavor profile, color, and also some cardamom pods smashed, as you would find in a traditional mora bayabet or quince jam. Or if you don't have that, just a little bit of cardamom. A little bit goes a long way, along with the cinnamon that you use in apple pie.
Sounds delicious. Yeah, I mean, quince, I love quince. It's quince season right now. I've been actually eating a ton of quince, not necessarily in jam form, although I have like a great quince jam recipe that I love that makes the quince this beautiful ruby red color. But actually, my mom has been making it. And so I kind of riffed off of her recipe that she basically cuts up like in slices the quince and then kind of half fry, half steams them in a pan with a lid on it. And they are super delicious. Like I'm like popping those as a side all the time now.
Interesting. Well, it's not necessarily always easy to find it. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't gone to like a Middle Eastern market yet. But do you know where somebody could find quince?
Yeah. So, you know, specialty markets will have it. Middle Eastern markets will have it. Farmers markets, I think, are probably going to be your best bet. Or if you're lucky enough to know someone with a quince tree, those are kind of the best. But, you know, a lot of people don't know what quince are and are kind of intimidated by them because, it looks way more bulky than a regular apple. And it's just not a fruit that many Westerners have seen or used. So it's definitely really fun when you can actually get them. But there are a bunch of quince jams that you can buy from your local market or from an online retailer that incorporates those cardamom and sometimes rosewater flavors in it already. So you have a lot of options of where you can buy some.
Okay, well, since you're a quince aficionado more than I am, let me just ask you, as I'm experimenting with adding it to my apple pie recipe, would you peel the skin of it? Because it looks like, for those that you don't know, like a oversized apple pear looking thing, and it looks really like, I don't know how thick the skin is. What would you do?
Yeah, I would use the skin.
You'd use the skin.
Yeah. Would you keep the apple skin on?
No, I don't actually keep the apple skin on my apple pie.
Yeah, the quince, when you cook it, the skin, I've never felt like it's been in the way. Like I actually just had some quince this morning too, cooked like the way that I said, and it had the skin on it, and I couldn't differentiate like the skin versus the flesh.
And probably more nutritious. So,
yeah.
Fiber. All right. Ready for the next one?
Yes, I am. Okay, number 2. Go ahead.
I took a great cooking class where we made fabulous baklava cups that we used the filo dough, we layered it with butter and honey and nuts and layered, bake it in ramekins and put ice cream inside. I had another version that I think would lend itself to fall holidays and group gatherings really, really well. I had it at a mehmuni, a Persian party that we went to. And it's called baklava flan. I haven't yet tried to make it, but I think I know which version I'm going to make. I've seen a few different ones. I have tasted it. It's incredible. It's a crowd pleaser. I made my Yazdi cupcakes, which people loved at this party. But the baklava flan was really different and delicious, and everyone loved it. So the version that I am going to make, I'll just run through it really quick and easy. You take a pie dish, you take a few full sheets of phyllo dough, this a little bit larger than the size of your pie dish, and you lay them down and you brush with butter, and you do that with each layer of your phyllo dough. Then next comes a layer of what I'm going to call the baklava filling, and that's going to be either your sugar water or honey, whichever you choose to use. Your nut mixture, I prefer pistachios and baklava, cinnamon, some people use brown sugar, and you could run that through a food processor a little until it almost becomes like a paste. Put that layer down. Then you go to a pot and you make your flan. Find the best grandmother flan recipe you can find and make a delicious, rich flan. Pour your flan into the next layer. Then you take some more phyllo dough, you cut it up into strips, you put melted butter on the strips of flan, and you flake them on the top of it. You put this in the oven and you bake it. And now you have this incredible layered baklava flan. You can garnish and lay some toppings like pistachio, nuts, rose petals was what we had at the mehmuni, and it is amazing.
Wow. That sounds delicious because it's different from a regular flan because it has a crust. It has a phyllo dough crust. So you're definitely making it like a pie, but it sounds so delicious. I can imagine the creamy, smooth texture of the flan against like the baklava mixture filling and the crunchy phyllo dough. That sounds delicious. Way to like delight for your like senses.
Yeah, and it's pie shape. That's my only pie shape one I got for you. What's your number 2?
All right. So we're going to move into more savory pies for my pie options, my remaining 2. This is actually using like a pre-made pie crust or getting your pie dough, and it's a kuku sabzi pie.
Oh!
So a fun appetizer or side dish, kuku sabzi is our kind of like souffle with egg base with a ton of herbs and spinach in it. So you take the pie crust and then you add your filling and add it into the dish and add also some barberries and some walnuts for a very traditional kuku like flavor and texture and recipe essentially, but it's in the pie crust. So then when you slice it up like into like little triangles, you have this herby green, healthy, vibrantly colored dish with a little like bursts of tartness from the barberries and the crunch from the walnuts. I thought that that would be kind of like a fun version of making kuku, but making it in more of like a pie.
That's so creative. Now tell me, do you just do the under pie crust layer, or are you putting a pie crust on top?
No, it's like open face.
Wow. I love that. That's a great, like not easy, because kuku's not necessarily easy, but it's a creative way to make kuku that incorporates pie crust. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it a little bit fun.
A little more filling, has some bread to it.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That would be something that I would serve for lunch is your kuku pie.
Yeah, totally. Or like a brunch.
Cool. You can keep going. You're on a roll. Let's hear your last one.
All right. So my last one is something that can be served. It can be served anytime, but if you want to make a variation for your Thanksgiving table, if maybe you don't have a big family, or maybe you guys aren't doing a big turkey, or maybe you don't want to use turkey and you're not a big turkey fan. And also you could use potentially some leftovers for this dish, is Persian pot pie.
Oh, what's Persian pot pie? Put that one on the cookbook list too.
There we go. Okay, Persian pot pie is basically, when you think of like pot pie, you have a filling of, it could be chicken, it could be turkey. So this is a great way to use up some of the leftovers if you have it. And it has some vegetables and a creamy gravy. And then that's all baked in a pie crust. And you can put a pie crust on top of it as well. And again, like how you were mentioning, you can cut out little shapes and make little like flower or whatever designs, leaves on there to decorate it. But yeah, so basically it's like a traditional pot pie recipe, but we're adding some Persian flavors and Persian spices in the form of turmeric, some cumin, and some cinnamon. So it's really just kind of getting those warming spices together that are so much a part of Persian cuisine and adding it to like this kind of like a comfort food. You can add some peas and carrots to it as well, some onions. You could even put like little bits of potato in there as well. But this is like a super cozy dish. Again, if you don't want to have a traditional turkey for Thanksgiving, you could put turkey in the pot pie, or if you want to use it for leftovers, or just whenever that you kind of want to have that comfort food. This is also a great make ahead recipe that you can prepare, and then whenever you want to serve it, just like an hour before, stick it into the oven and have it like ready to go right straight from the oven. So I couldn't talk about pies and not talk about a pot pie.
I love that. I have had Thanksgiving leftover pies before, and versions of them that use ground turkey and, layers of the mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes, whatever you have left over. But I like your idea of adding a little bit of Persian spices and making it different, because after a while, some people get tired of the same old thing.
For sure. Of course. All right. What's your final pie of the day?
I did recipe test. I wanted to make something that you and I had at the Mehragan event we went to last month, and that was a lighter version of halva. And so I wanted to try it because I had only made the halva, and I'm talking about the quote unquote Persian traditional halva that you may have seen traditionally served when someone has passed.
Yeah, it's more like a paste. It's like a amber pasty kind of consistency.
Yeah, so typically it's made by sort of toasting the flour and paste mixture till it's quite browned. But the event had the browner version and a really, really light color one.
Yes.
And so I thought, oh my gosh, and it's not even Halloween yet. We're both wearing orange. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to make it light, and I'm going to, add some saffron and make it orange. And so I did. I made this like orange colored halva that I thought was perfect for the season. And I tried to make it with extra sugar water mixture that you can use, or I think that's the way most people make halva, so that it would be a little bit runnier. And I am playing with a halvaklava pie.
Okay. Halvaklava
pie.
Okay. All right. Tell us about that.
So it's basically the same type of base as I told you about in the baklava flan, but you're going to take your light colored, smooth halva, and you're going to put it in a piping bag or like a big freezer bag. You're going to cut a hole out of the corner, and you're going to squirt it in so that it's the filling.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what halva pie is. It's light and creamy halva sandwiched in layers of phyllo dough sheets in a casserole dish. Now, I didn't actually make that version. I made snickerdoodle halva, which I called halva doodles.
Oh my God, how cute.
Yeah, I made halva cookies, and then I basically made a thumbprint in the middle, and I put the orange colored light halva in the middle. And now that I'm thinking about it more, I wonder if you could make that look like a pumpkin even.
Oh, you're so cute. That's so funny. Yeah.
It was really rich. It was a lot. Halva is a rich pudding type of thing. It was interesting. I really liked the version that we had at the event with the biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
The way she made it was really light.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was calling that the blonde halva.
Yeah, the blonde halva, exactly.
Yeah, light, much lighter color. Well, that sounds delicious.
Woo, that was a lot. That was a lot of dessert, a lot of pie inspiration. If you guys end up trying any of ours, tag us on social media or send us an email. Let us know in any way that you want. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to see your creations and hear from you guys. With that, let's transition to the Ask the Beats. So we actually met someone who was a listener at the event. Pizza, tell us about that.
Yeah, we met a listener, Suzanne. It was a fun surprise for her and for us at the Mehragan picnic. We went to Nusha International Conservatory of Arts, hosted event in Pleasanton, a picnic, Mehragan. Then we set up the sofret, and she came over to our table and she said, "Oh my gosh, I listened to your podcast." And Bita June, you were clever enough to ask, one of us asked, I think I asked, do you have an Ask the Beats for the show? And then you said, well, why don't we just record it while you're here?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a lot of fun. We ended up having such a fun and, if I say so myself, beautiful Mehragan spread setting. So that was really beautiful. And it was just so nice to kind of meet Suzanne, and we met another listener too. And so that was just really inspiring to actually meet people who are listening to the show. So again, if you make one of the recipes that we talk about, or if you see us or want to reach out to us, we always love hearing from you.
Or invite us to an event.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can make it.
Exactly.
Hi, Bita June and Bita June. I'm Suzanne from Washington, D.C. metro area, and I would like to know how to make Shirazi Kalam Polo, the authentic one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne June, so much.
What a great question. We loved the question. We didn't have the answer on the spot. And I think, Bita June, you had a source.
Yes, I did. So I dug in and wanted to go find this authentic Kalam Polo from Shiraz, the Shirazi style. Kalam means cabbage. So this is a layered cabbage rice dish. And it has regional differences. So depending on where you're from, it may have certain ingredients, and other regions will have completely other ingredients in it. The main thing is the cabbage. So there's versions of it that have like more of a tomato base. The Shirazi style has a bunch of herbs in it. So it's a very aromatic dish made with actually not regular cabbage. You can use regular cabbage if you don't have it, if you can't find kohlrabi cabbage. So it's made with kohlrabi. It's like a big ball. Basically, it's a hard ball, kind of like similar to like a turnip. It's called kohlrabi, and you peel this like globe, and you can actually eat the whole thing. So you can cut through it. There's no like core that you need to work around. And so I jumped in and tried to find this recipe. I know that one of my mom's friends, her name is actually Khanum Shirazi, and she makes a kalam polo. So she made it for me, and I was able to eat some, and it was super delicious. And I just did a bunch of research, and I found out the recipe, and I wanted to go ahead and share that. I'll do a top line version here. Suzanne June, I hope that you have the opportunity to make this, and I hope you enjoy it, and it brings back really great nostalgic memories for you. So this dish also has these mini meatballs. So you'll see sometimes in some of the Persian dishes, like a albalu polo, which is a sour cherry rice dish, comes to mind, where they have these tiny little meatballs. And it's traditionally for this dish made out of beef or lamb. And so you make these little mini meatballs with grated onions and a spoon or two of chickpea flour. And the chickpea flour holds the little meatballs together. And you can season with advieh. So just basically Persian spice mix, kind of has a bunch of different spices in it. You make these little tiny meatballs and you put them all in a single layer in a pan and cook it up. And it only takes a few minutes, and you can just shake the pan a little bit to get color on all around the meatballs. And now you just really want to just get a little color on them. You don't need to overcook them, because these will actually be layered into the rice dish. So set aside the meatballs and go ahead and start with our piaz d'ar. So it's our sauteed onions, get a golden char on the onions, and then add the kohlrabi. And the kohlrabi is cut. The traditional way that I saw that was cut is somewhere between a matchstick and a French fry, size-wise. So you have all of those, and then you start to saute, kind of fry the kohlrabi along with the onions in the pan. And when those kind of get a little bit softened, you are going to want to cooking that a little bit until it gets a little bit softened. And then you will then add these herbs. The herbs that are traditional for this dish are pretty strong herbs. We have basil in this dish, tarragon, and dill. Those are the main herbs. And those are really strong flavors. And actually basil, I haven't really seen a lot of basil in cooked Persian dishes. We will have a lot of basil with sabzi khordan, the fresh herbs that we have, but there's not a ton of recipes that actually has basil in it. So it's the strong flavor of the basil, the tarragon, the mint, and you basically, what you do is you layer the kohlrabi and the onions and the mini meatballs and the herbs within the rice, and you steam them all together. And it creates this beautiful, fluffy, the rice really adds the fluffiness to it. And it's such a really interesting flavor profile. And the final touch of this, actually, before you layer it, is to add lemon juice to the dish. And so the lemon juice really brightens it up and as one of the distinct flavors of the dish. So I had the authentic version made, and I ate it, and it was delicious. And then I actually this morning was recipe testing with it as well. I made a version of it and I served it two ways. I used regular cabbage because I didn't have kohlrabi, and I mixed it, and I basically kind of made a khorak version of it, kind of like a side dish without the rice, but it's just basically the meat. And I didn't make mini meatballs, but I kind of did little rustic, little pieces of it and ate it like that. And actually I shared it with my husband, and I mixed his with the rice. And so we had it two different ways, but it was really, really delicious. It was really interesting. It's not like a traditional Persian dish. It was really unlike any other Persian dish that I had had. Those herbs really bring out a different profile to Persian cooking. So Suzanne June, I hope that helps you get a little bit closer to creating this very special recipe at home. Thank you for making me go and learn about this dish, because it wasn't one that I really had a lot of experience with. So that was really fun to kind of learn a new dish in my Persian food profile.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Bita June. Thanks for doing the research and recipe testing and tasting. And thank you, Suzanne June, for your question. I love how in this episode we had a bunch of modern things you can do to blend cultures and traditions and flavors in our Persian pies. And then we went back to a classic traditional recipe that our listener wanted to hear. So keep the questions coming. We have a great episode planned for Yalda, our annual Yalda episode. And we're also going to do a little reflecting of our own and talk about our origin story. Whenever we meet someone new, that's the first thing they ask us is, how do we know each other? And so we want to share that with you guys. For the new listeners and the old, be sure to stay tuned.
Great. Thank you, Bita June. Thank you to everyone listening. This was a fun episode for us. We tried sampling some new recipes with each other, surprising each other with what we were making and what we're eating. So hopefully it has inspired you to maybe try one of them out yourself.
Awesome. Till next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Bita and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.